Hey, this is Andrew Brown. In this video, we're going to take a look at how we can use Azure AI Search with our chat LLM, which is going to give us basically RAG. So let's go over here to our chat playground. And the idea is that we have the ability to add data. And so by adding data, we're going to be able to provide this chatbot with context. Now, if we're using GPT-3.5 Turbo, it doesn't have the latest data. So if we go ahead here and just say, what is the latest data set that GPT-3.5 Turbo is trained on. I don't know if they like update this model or if it just has the data that it has. Let's find out. I don't have real time. Sure, okay. So let's go ahead and say GPT-3.5 Turbo latest data set. And it says here June 13, 2024. So it seems like, it says will be shut down. Created will continue updates through 2023. The architecture alterations performed in 2023 will be shut down. So what does that mean? Is it getting rid of Turbo? So here we have much more truthful also needed for GPT-4, also detailing the course declines in API programmability. So we offer static models. The promise is broken. What are we hearing here? So okay. So I think it's suggesting to say like it has training data from 2021, but they're not doing anything as of new with it. But we could go ahead and just try to ask it something that is recent. So I'm just trying to think of something that is recent in the Azure space. What products has Azure launched in 2023? Let's see if it knows that. Okay, what products has Azure launched in 2022? Oh, I did 2023 again. Let's go here. 2022. 2021. Okay, so this makes me think that it was trained on data from 2021. So if we pull anything that is newer, let's go over to the Microsoft blog. And we'll go over to here and see if we can find something that is new. Let's go over to the AI blog. And so I'm looking for technical announcements. This is not really the best place to look, I suppose. I'll go back over to here. Usually they have like a developer forum. So maybe we'll say like updated pricing for Azure Azure fine-tuning AI Studio. Because that is something that I know that has changed here. So yeah, this article here, I'm zoom out here a bit. This one talks about the new pricing changes for this. And so we'll go here. And so we say, we're updating our billing, fine-tuning for Azure OpenAI Search service. This is going to take effect probably for Azure AI service as well. So say, we go here and say, what is the current cost to fine-tune a model on Azure AI Open Search? And this is a feature that didn't even exist back then, so it's probably not going to be able to do anything. As last of my knowledge, the cost to fine-tune a model can vary based on several factors and the amount competing resources. For more accurate information, okay, do you have any information? Are you just making this up? Let's see if they know. General knowledge available up to the last day. So I think that it's saying that it doesn't know. Okay, it doesn't know. And so the idea here is I'm going to go clear the chat. So we're basically starting over. And let's see if we can add a data source. And hopefully we can use Azure AI Search as we do it. We have created Azure AI Search separately. But let's see if we can go through this completely. So we'll need a data source. And we can do blob storage, but I want to, it says connect to an existing resource or create a new index. So I'm going to create a new index. Notice it says the word index. And so I'm assuming that's going to use Azure AI Search. And we are going to go with blob storage. Well, it'd also be useful to connect with data in Azure AI Studio. So there's a lot of options we have here. Let's go over here and take a look what we have over for data. Yeah, and so this one, so if we have Azure AI Search, then we'd have to create a new connection here. And then this one would go to a storage account as well. Okay, so there's a lot of ways we can connect data, but again, I want to focus on trying to do Azure AI Search because I think that is the most interesting. And I don't have one right now. Yeah. So, if we go ahead and we try to use blob storage, yeah, it says add Azure AI Search resource and open AI connection will be required to index your data. Create a new Azure AI Search resource. So it's already suggesting that we would have to do that. Let me go down here again. Yeah, so I guess we're gonna have to create it anyway. When I did this before, I was able to create Azure AI Search through the UI, but I can't seem to remember how. So we'll just manually go create one. So we'll go over to portal.azure.com. And we'll go over to AI Search. Before we create this, I think we need blob storage, but we'll try anyway. I'm going to call this AI RAG for, because basically that's what we're doing here. We'll just say AI RAG or like AI Search RAG. And I believe that this one here, I don't think it matters, but I think that this one, this project here, yeah, it's West US. Okay, so let's go ahead and do West US. And I'm going to change this down to the free tier as we don't need to make things super expensive here. Let's go ahead, hit next. This is fine. We'll go hit review create. Give it a moment here and we'll go and create our Azure AI Search resource. Our deployment's complete. Let's go to that resource. So from in here, let's drop down search management. The first thing we need is an index. I mean, we want to have a data source, so connect your data start here to import your data. We'll go ahead and add an index. And I'm not exactly sure what we want for fields here, so I'm going to go back for a moment. Before we create an index, I'm going to add a data source and see if we can do that. So hopefully it'll create one for us. It won't, but what we'll do is make a new tab here. And I'm going to go over to Azure Blob Storage, or just Azure storage accounts here. And we'll create a new one here. And this one's going to be in our RAG. We'll call this AI RAG, West US. I'm going to ignore these options here. I just want to go with standard. They just started doing this where they have say AI RAG and some numbers here on the end. They just started giving these options here. I just kind of ignore them as they're just suggestions. We'll go with locally redundant storage because I don't need more than that. There are a bunch of options here which are interesting. I don't know if we have to enable them to connect for Azure AI Search, but we'll go ahead and try this. I'll give it a moment. And while that's creating, let's go prep this article. So this article has information in it. And I just want this contents here. So I'm going to copy this. And I already have open here the Azure examples repo. If you want to open this, just press a period. You should be working in your own repo. But I'm going to make a new folder here. I'm going to call this RAG. And I'm going to make a new file here. And this one is going to be fine-tune pricing.markdown. We'll make it a markdown file. I'm going to paste this in here. And so we have text. I mean, I don't even know if we need anything else besides this, but just making sure that this is formatted in a way that makes sense. So we have new price, previous price. So I'm just wondering if it will understand this format, because I'm looking at it, I can't really make sense of it. So let's go back over to here. And so previous price was this, and then new price was that, was the tokens, new price. So previous price was an hourly cost. So here we're going to go and we'll just say previous price, new price, previous price, new price. Now there are other ways that we could prep this document, but I'm just trying to keep it simple here today. New price, new price. And yeah, so, maybe we'll just do a bit of formatting here. Basically making a markdown file. I was not going to make it a markdown file, but now I've decided I'm going to. Because maybe this structure will help it out. Oops. Oh, we're going to do 3 here. Models. Azure Open AI Search fine-tuning, or this is Azure Open AI Service fine-tuning price change. Okay, so we go here. More information. Reasons for change. Okay, and so now we kind of have a structured file that we can bring in. So I want to go back over to here, and we'll go to our resource. I'm assuming this is going to use blob storage. We're going to go over to our containers. Remember, there's some new icons over here, which is interesting. And I'm going to go ahead and just call this data. And we'll create that. Assuming that we're supposed to create it ahead of time like this, I'm not really sure. And so I just want to upload this. I'm going to have to download this file. So I'm going to go ahead and download this. If you're looking for this file, look for the Azure Examples repo, and it should, for the most part, be in place of where you want it to be. And give me a moment, I got to find the file. There, I found it. And so I'm going to go here and just drag the file and upload it. And so hopefully that will, yeah, it's blob block, so it's clearly a blob file. So hopefully we can then now add that here. We're going to have to go back because I just created that data source. So we'll go ahead and hit add data source. Azure blob storage, we'll just say data. And I'm going to choose an existing connection. And here we have our AI RAG. And we're choosing data. We'll say select. And so now we have an established connection there. Manage identity authentication. If you enabled identity on your search, you have the option to authenticate. I mean, I haven't, so we should just be able to leave that alone. That's the container. It's everything in the folder. That's it. Let's go ahead and save that. All right. So now we have done that. We're going to go back over to here. And I imagine, well, we haven't done skill sets yet, but I imagine we'll have to do an index. Just give me a moment. All right. So let's go ahead and create an index. We will add an index. And so this will just be data, I suppose. And we need content here that we're going to search across. So we have an ID, and I'm just going to call it content. I'm not really creative with these names here, so I'm just going to go ahead here and call it content. We have different fields here. I mean, basically it's a string. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, it's just a string. And so that's going to just contain our content, I would think. Okay, we'll click into that. And yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, how would that index our data? Like, if I type in here and just say Azure, if the query contains a search can target, okay, just give me a moment. All right, so I didn't get a clear answer, but while researching, I did find something interesting that I did not notice. But there's this import data option. I'm not saying we're going to use it right now, but apparently it will do a lot of the work for us. So here, uh, we have an existing data source. Actually, it shows up. Maybe we can use it because we do have the data here, and maybe it can create that index for us. So I'm going to go back here, and because I'm not sure, like we have index and indexer. So maybe what we should have done is created an indexer to then index our data and then put it in the data store. Yeah, that's what it is. So I think import data would just do the exact same thing, but we'll go ahead and do this. Index data source. There's a skill set. So a skill set, I believe, is basically like transformers for data. So if we go over to here for a moment and take a look at our skill set, let's just see what we have here. Yeah, so we have skills all over the place. And yeah, I think that's what it is. Give me just a moment here. Yep, so that's exactly what it is. A skill set is just a way for us to add additional processes before things get imported. Right now, I don't really have a use case for this, so that's not that interesting for me. But imagine that we had in our data store a bunch of PDFs. Then we could OCR that, and that would kind of be actually interesting. So maybe we'll try that after we get something working if we have time here. But right now, I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. So let's go back to our indexer here. And we have a schedule, so I guess I just want to run this once. Once. Okay, that's the first option here. That's perfect. We have batch size. We have all these numbers here, whether we want to exclude information, data to extract. I mean, I just want the content, but we'll get content and metadata. That's fine. We have parsing mode, which is fine. This is just markdown. So set to text improve indexing performance on plain text files. I mean, that's what it is. It's a plain text file in a sense. It is a markdown file, but that's basically the same thing. We have image action, so ignore embedded images or files. So that's kind of interesting. And we'll go ahead and save this. Okay, so we have saved our indexer. I want to go ahead and run this. We'll say yes. The only thing I'm wondering is, like, how would it know to map to the content field? Because here, we never told it how to map. So that's something that's kind of interesting. If this doesn't work, we'll just do the import data. That's totally fine as well. But yeah, I'm not sure how it would know what fields to map to. Did it run? I mean, it started. Cool. So let's go back over to here. Oh, it's successful. Excellent. Let's click into it. Did we get any results? Execution history. It says it's successful. Nothing of interest here that's telling us how it's working. But let's go over to our home, back into here, into our indexes. It says document count is 0. So it says there's no data here. And so, yeah, I'm not really confident on this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this index. Okay. I can go back and delete this indexer because clearly there's a little bit more going on here that I'm not aware of. Delete this indexer. Yep. And let's try the import data and see if it actually will set up everything for us. So we'll go say import data. And we'll hold on. There's also import and vectorize data. That sounds even better. Let's do this. So we have Azure Blob Storage. Yep. And I'm going to choose AI RAG. And I'm going to choose data. And it's everything in there. I don't think we need to authenticate, so we'll go next. Vectorize your data, Azure OpenAI. So yeah, we need something that's going to do the vectorization. We did this in a notebook before where we vectorize the data. So OpenAI is totally fine. Seems like that's what we would utilize. Here we have Azure OpenAI Search. Yeah, so we actually want to do East because that's where this is. Oh, no. We're over here, actually. No deployments available when with an embedding model. Okay, so, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter what we use to do it because it's just going to get the data in there, and then after that, it doesn't really matter. But if we go over to here, no deployment model available. So something has to actually do the embedding, and this one's in OpenAI Studio 2134. Is that what it is? 2113. So I have to figure out what, I keep putting random numbers, so it doesn't help me much, but I'm going to go back to the hub. And so the one that we're looking at here that's in West US is an Azure Studio Hub, but it's 1234. But the question is, which OpenAI is it using? So we go into here, and it will have connected resources, connections. And here we have 12349. Huh. Okay. So maybe these are just isolate ones that are deployed and they have nothing to do with Azure AI Studio. So let's go over to OpenAI. And here, yeah, now we have two. We have West and East. So we've been doing everything in West. I'm going to use this one, which is the 2113. We have 2113. And say it has no active deployments. So we're going to go over to a model deployment. And I'm going to manage deployments. It's going to open up us up in Azure OpenAI Studio because you can't do deployments the old way anymore, which is fine. And so it's saying, I want something deployed here so that we can vectorize that data. I'm going to assume that we can use GPT-4. I also kind of wonder if we could use GPT-4 Mini, but I think it takes time for that to come back, so we don't want to use that. So I'm going to use, I'm trying to decide here because we could probably use GPT-3.5 Turbo, but I'm going to go ahead and use GPT-4o. We'll go ahead and deploy this. And we'll see if this will do what we want, okay? We'll give it a moment here to load. And yeah, I'll go with global standard. I think we found out that was probably the best one that we could possibly deploy. And we'll wait for that deployment to become available. Seems like it's like instantaneous, so that's really good. I'm going to drop this down again, give this a refresh. Oh, with the available embedding model. So maybe this deployment's actually useless now that I think about it because it has to be an embedding model, right? So maybe they'll indicate, yeah, with embedding. So we have text embedding 3 large, text embedding small. Now some regions don't have access to these, so hopefully these ones will deploy. I'm not sure what the difference between small and so small are the latest. Models offer better, whatever. Let's go with small because we have a small amount of data. Hopefully that just works. That'd be really nice. This model is not available for Azure OpenAI resource. Cancel. Let's go back. Of course, they would make it difficult. Let's try this. Deploy. Yeah, so it's really weird that they do that and they don't make it really easy for us. Is there anything else that can do embeddings? Not that I know of. There's also Ada. Let's try Ada. But cannot be fine-tuned. Okay, maybe we'll avoid this one. And if that's the case, let's just switch over to our other studio, which is in Sweden. And we know that the Sweden one for sure will, we got a lot here. I think it's this one, 1, 2, no, that's not it. Oh, East. Okay, yeah, these are ones that are just individually deployed. They're not necessarily part of the studio. But I think that this one will have embedding. So let's try the small embedding here. See if that works. So it's really interesting where some things you're forced to use OpenAI and the other ones you'll want to use AI Studio. We'll give this a moment to think. It looks like it's going to do it, but it's having a hard time here today. All right, so we have standard. So I guess that's what we're going with here today. And so we'll deploy that. And it looks like it's instantaneous. It's deployment, which is nice. Not something I'm used to with Azure, but we'll go here and choose the small. Again, I don't know a huge difference between the large and small model, but I'm assuming that small is good enough for our use case. If it's not, we're going to find out. Will incur additional costs to my account. Yes, of course. Everything costs money. If you're afraid of using it, you can just watch along, but it's up to you. There are no images in here, so we don't have to worry about that. Enrich your day with AI skills. So that's something that we could do during the vectorization. It's interesting that they show it at this step, but I'm not interested in doing that right now. So go ahead and hit next. Oh yeah, we're doing this in the reg. So I for some reason I thought we were in the other interface. I'm going to set this to once, and this is going to generate an index, an indexer, a data source, and a skill set. So all those things we could have configured. For whatever reason, I didn't know how to do the indexer. We'll go ahead and create it. But now I'm starting to think about this is very similar to AWS Glue. So the similar components. And I mean, it looks like it's done. I'm not sure. Yeah, we're just waiting for it to create. So I'm going to, oh, okay. So let's go ahead and hit start searching. That was easier than I thought. Let's type in OpenAI. OpenAI here. and we're getting back vector data. So there's only one document. This probably be more interesting if we had multiple documents here, but again, I'm just concerned that I do not know how to do the import, and that's where we could run into issues. Let's take a look and see what it did. So in the indexes, if we go to fields, we have text vector, so that's the text vector data. We have chunks, so I believe that it chunks and then both stores the text vector data. We have a title, which I don't remember coding. We have the metadata, maybe the title of the document, so that if we need to find the document, we can look it up. Let's go over to the indexers and see what they did for this. So we go over to settings. I wonder if it's pre-filled. Yes, that looks fine. But how did it know how to map the fields? So here we have mapping fields. So yeah, I don't really know. Maybe it's based on convention. Like if you have vectorized data, it will place in the correct location. But I'm not sure how it knows to do that. But at least it works, okay? So now that we have our data, the idea is that we can go over and finish connecting our resources in Azure AI Studio Hub. So let's go back over to wherever we were. I think it was, let's go back over to our hub. This one is where? West US. So we're back in West US. We're going to go back to chat. And now let's see if we can connect Azure AI Search. So we're going to add our data. So we'll create or select a project. Oh, we're not in a project right now. Let's make sure we're in a project first. There we go. And then we'll go over to chat. And from here, we'll add our data. And we'll add a data source. And we'll say Azure AI Search. We're going to go ahead and hit next. We'll connect to Azure AI Search. And we have different ways of connecting. I remember having a lot of difficulty connecting. So if we can use the API key, I'm totally fine with that. So here it says add a connection. Your hub will be granted access to this resource. Anyone with this will be whatever. So let's go ahead and add a connection. And we'll choose this index here. And of course, we would need a means to doing this. So this is Azure OpenAI embedding model will be deployed if not already adding the vector data. So here, I'm not sure if we should do this, because if we have embedded with a very specific model, I would think that we would want to use the same one. And so I'm kind of concerned about that. And so because of that, I'm not going to proceed forward here. I think that's a mistake. And let's go back over to our hub and launch a hub that's in East US. Unless we already have one. And we don't have one. So I'm going to create a new hub. And I'm going to just put this, we'll make a new resource, or we'll put it in our RAG one because everything's being done here. And so we'll want a new Azure OpenAI Search service. And here it can connect to our Azure AI Search. And actually, let's do that because we need to do it anyway. And that might save us some trouble. So we'll go ahead and hit next and create. Anytime that Azure is going to do the work for us, let it do it, because it can be very difficult to connect these things. And so we'll just wait for this to set up, okay? All right, so that was created for us. And I mean, if it's connected that way, that's definitely easier for us. Let's go over to connections and see, yep, we can see the connection is established and use the API key type. So that's exactly what we would have done. It says cognitive search because that's what Azure AI Search used to be called. Let's go over to projects. We don't have one yet, so we'll just make a new project. I don't care what it's called. And we'll just give it a moment here to create. And we now have our project. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to go to chat. And, oh, we need a deployment. So let's go ahead and create a deployment. I'm going to work again with, we'll go to the model catalog. And I want to deploy GPT-3.5 Turbo. Again, intentionally, because we know that it's out of date. And here we will establish a connection. I assume that's the only one we can connect here, and we'll stick with standard. We'll go ahead and deploy that. That is now deployed. We'll go over to chat. And it doesn't seem to be aware of the deployment. Let's give this a refresh here. Sometimes Azure needs to propagate, so be very patient. There we go. We'll go ahead and add our data. So we already have a connection. So I'm just wondering how we can do that. So we'll say add a data source. We'll say Azure AI Search. We'll hit next. And I mean, we already have an established connection, so I'm not sure why we have to click through this to find out. So what I'm going to do, I want to see if it's already connected. I'm just going to say, let's go take a look at our document. And so we'll say, what is the price change for Babbage for fine tuning? Let's see if it can pull out there. It's an open AI model. Can you connect via Azure AI Search? And check. Okay. So that didn't help it. Maybe we just go a question and say like here it's how would it had like a date in here? I just realized there's no date in here. But we say, what are the pricing changes to Azure OpenAI service for fine tuning? And so I'm trying to get it. So it doesn't seem to know. Okay. So we do have a connection, and I would have thought that we could just add that connection, not have to go through this whole process, but let's go ahead and do this anyway. So we'll say Azure AI Search, and we'll go next, and we will choose Azure AI Search. We'll choose this vector here. I'm not sure why it's saying that, so that's kind of annoying. But now we can select an embedding model that makes sense. And here it's still trying to choose text embedding AI-102. Okay, so maybe here we need to deploy, because it will pick one by default, but I'm going to go ahead here and just choose that embedding model, the small, okay? And let's go ahead and deploy that. That's another thing is like, how would that chatbot use that data source if there's no embedding model deployed? It probably wouldn't be able to. All right, so we'll give this a moment here. All right, so we'll go ahead and deploy this model. I'm kind of wondering why that index is not working, and we are in East US, so I wonder if we'll have to create another Azure AI Search connection, but in the correct region. I try to keep everything in the same region, but not everything works as expected. So go ahead and we'll try this again. So let's say Azure AI Search. Is very finicky to get this stuff working. And no issues with the index this time around, but maybe the reason why is because we actually have an index. So now we're going to get the index settings here next. And so let's go back here. Azure OpenAI embedding model text embedding AI-102 will be deployed if not already adding to your account. And so I just keep thinking like, is that going to work for us? Because we did not use that as our embedding models, because these embedding models should work differently, right? And that's a little bit frustrating because I wish I had known that up front earlier, but I guess we'll find out. It'll either work or it won't work, right? So here we have some configuration options, how we can search. So semantic search seems pretty good. There's also vector keyword search. So there's just different ways that we can go about searching. And I'm not saying I'm familiar with all these methods. I think that we saw these when we were running the notebook and using Azure AI Search programmatically. And semantic search would probably give us the most likely best results, but we're going to stick with vector keyword as it's suggested. And let's see if we can find out what are the pricing changes for Azure OpenAI Search. Azure OpenAI services for fine tuning. Okay, and let's see if it can do this. Like, would it be smart enough to know to reach out there? Oh, look at that. Okay, and so it's giving us a reference. Okay, so it has citation. It's showing us the changes here. Can you show me, can you make me a table of old and new price changes for the, let's see if it can do that. I'm not sure if it can do tables here. Oh, it did. Okay, great. And there you go. So there it's referencing it. And so that works. That is really cool. One other thing that I think that would be really cool to try, if we can make it work, is to use a skill set to OCR a PDF document. That is a huge challenge for a lot of RAG systems, is you have to have some way to unstructure or reformat your data, and PDFs is definitely one that can be a challenge. Now, if you use powered AI assistants like ChatGPT, you'll take for granted how easy it is to drag those over. But we'll see what's going on there. Anyway, so yep. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. I'm going to go back over to our AI search here, and what I want to do is I want to, because I guess we'd want to have another, yeah, let's go back over, I know I'm talking over the place, but let's go over to our data storage, our storage account for our RAG, and I'm going to make another container, and this one's going to be called PDFs. Okay, so PDFs. And the idea is that I want to have some kind of PDF information. It'd be nice if that PDF information was a image or graphic, a graphic PDF where it's very hard to do that. So I think what I'd have to do, I mean, I could scan an image in. I'm just trying to think how I could do that. So maybe what I'll do is I'll find an article here in our Azure AI Services blog, and what I can do is print it out and then take a photo of it and then turn it into a PDF, upload it to the Azure Examples repo so you can use it as well, and then we'll try to utilize that. So let me go do that. I'm just going to go pick out a couple articles here, and I'll be back in just a moment. All right, so I've created a PDF, and I've purposely made it really bad. I'm trying to be very careful because Adobe or Acrobat really likes to OCR things, and I want these to be images, right? I want these to be a little bit awful, and I want these to be images because I want our skill set to do the OCRing and not Adobe Acrobat. But let's go ahead and see if we can get that to work as expected. So I'm going to go over to our storage account into our PDFs. And we only have one PDF here, which is fine. So I can just go ahead and upload that here. Okay, so I believe it's on my desktop. So I just need to go and grab it from here. Just give me a moment to find it. I think I called it GPT-4, and we'll drag that on over there. And we'll go ahead and upload that document, right? So that is now uploading. So we have GPT-4o PDF. That looks great. Okay. All right, so that is now uploaded here, and the next step is to import that data. So we're going to go over to our Azure AI Search, and we'll go back to Overview because this tool up here, Import and Vectorize, was super useful. And surprisingly, using a different embedding model still gave us results, but I would imagine that when you are converting vector data, you should probably use the same embedding model because I can't imagine they work all the same way. We'll go over here to Azure Blob Storage. We're going to now choose, we'll choose this one, and in this case, it will be the PDFs directory. We're going to go hit Next, and we are going to, I guess it's the other one that has the, small, embedding 3 small. Of course, it costs money. We know this. We'll hit Next. We are not vectorizing any images. We're going to go Next. And, oh, where's our skill set? Oh, enrich your data with AI skills. So extract text from images. That's exactly what we're doing here today. And select a multi-service account. No accounts found in the same region as a search service. What? What does that mean? Select a multi-search service account. I've never seen that as an option. Give me just a moment, okay? Oh, maybe it's just AI services. Okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead and do that. I mean, I thought we already had that, but that's totally fine. I think it's like Azure AI Services where it has the unified API, but yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay, that's fine. So we'll put that in RAG. Yeah, Redis US, we'll just say Azure AI Services for RAG. I'm going to type it correctly. I do not care here. We're going to go ahead and do review create. Yeah, sure, we'll do this and review create. And I guess the reason why is that it needs some way of accessing OCR, and I guess there isn't already one there. It's just the wording's kind of weird here. They should have just called it AI Services API, and that would have made a whole lot more sense. So just give that a moment to deploy. That was quick. Let's go back over to here. We're going to give this a refresh, and oh dear, what region is this in? Is this in West US? This is in West US. So my mistake, just because I'm confused because we have something East US and we're doing something cross region, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new service. As best you can, try to keep things in the same region so there's not additional weird costs. So we'll try this again. AI reg, East US, AI search, reg, East. Not even trying to type it correctly, just getting it in there. We'll go ahead, we'll hit next. Everything seems fine, review, create. And this time we'll have one in the correct region. Okay, so that is now deployed. We'll go over to here and we'll refresh. And did I make another one in East US? Yes, I did. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I keep forgetting. It's because I'm hungry. I haven't had lunch yet here. Okay, this time, I'm going to make it in the right region. It's not like it hurts anything making all these. It's not costing me anything yet, but we'll go ahead and say West US. Okay, pricing tier. Azure AI Search, West US. Feel sorry for the people who are watching me making the same thing. Again, wrong. Okay, so we'll create this one. Shouldn't take too long. So give it a moment. And yep, we'll wait here a moment. So that resource group is now ready. We're going to go over here and give it a refresh. There we go. We're acknowledging, yes. And so it's going to use the underlying OCR service. How well it's going to perform on my documents, I'm not sure, but I expect it to work. So here are all of our options. We'll go ahead and create this. There we go. And it's going to create the skill set. So, you know, not the most interesting way to see how skill sets work, but I mean, we are technically using a skill set. But I would imagine that if we were setting this up manually, then we could choose from a bunch of other ones. So start searching. So let's go ahead and try this out and make sure it works. So what was in that document? I already forgot. This one has about GPT-4 fine-tuning. So I'm just reading here. Oops, wrong thing. We are excited to announce fine-tuning capabilities for public preview. Fine-tuning allows... How much does GPT-4 mini fine-tuning cost? Let's try this. That's new. That's like literally a few days ago. How much does GPT-4o mini fine-tuning cost? I mean, that's a lot of words in here, but we'll try it anyway. I mean, it's returning back data. Maybe just a single keyword might help here. So let's just say fine-tuning. I'm just matching it based on the document here. I mean, it's retrieving the document. So I think the way it's giving us vector data because the data is vectorized, right? So the way we're going to find out this works really well is by testing it over here. Now we have this connected here, but does that mean it's connected to the PDFs or data? So I'm going to try to ask the question over here and see what happens if it can cite from that other document, the one that we had OCR'd. And so we'll expand this. So this is coming from the wrong one. And so I think what we need to do, let's go to advanced settings here. And I mean, like, I don't know if we can add multiple data sources. So maybe what's important is that everything is in the same index for this to work because we only have a single index here. I'm not sure if that's a limitation here, but let's go ahead and remove this. And I'm going to add a new data source. Next. Here. Great naming. 5554. Okay, so we go here, 5554. So this is the PDF one. And I just ignored that error because it just obviously worked before. And we'll go next, create. And we'll say create. And so we'll leave it on the vector keyword search. It seems fine on that. Let's go ahead and paste in that question from earlier. How much does GPT-4 Mini fine-tuning cost? Fine-tuning cost probably would help if I spelt it correctly here, fine-tuning cost. And let's see if it can pull out citations from that document. And we have a reference. And yes, so it's getting it from there. Can you make it a table? And let's see if it can do that for us. There we go. And that is pretty close. So not perfect, but of course our data, let's say we have 003 and then, oh no, it's there. Okay, it's just the way it visualized it. Okay, so we have a simple one there and just displayed it differently. And so it actually did a better job than what we actually had in the document. But yeah, I mean, like I was hoping that we could look a little bit more at the skill sets, so you can understand. I mean, you understand what it does. It's just an added filter there. But I think if we wanted to have the flexibility to actually do something with it, we would have to. Is it our indexer? Is it our indexer where we do that, or is it our data source? It's not in here. So if we go into this, I'm just trying to see where we added that that skill set, because that obviously did it for us, right? Maybe it's when we're creating an index. No, it'd have to be the indexer because, yeah, because at this stage it must be here. You know, we do this, 554. Allow skill set to read data. Well, anyway, I don't remember where it is. I'm kind of hungry here, but my point is that we achieved what we wanted to do, which was to utilize RAG for using a skill set and also just generally fetching from a document. But again, it's really tricky to get that search service set up. So if you're having difficulties with it, that's totally fine. I'm going to drag this over into our RAG document here, and I'm just going to go ahead and add docs for Azure AI Search RAG. There we go. And so now you have those available for when you want to do that. And I'm going to go ahead here and just stop this. Or sorry, we'll do some cleanup. And luckily we have that AI RAG resource group. So we'll go into here and we have a bunch of junk in here. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. And we'll go ahead and delete that. And so hopefully that successfully deletes, but I will see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.